Innic is a younger cousin of the warrior Krusos Valosa. Krusos has gone missing after searching for the fabled Tome of Blacktongue. Innic has banded with two misfit allies, Leo, a strange priest who left his temple, and Ashiana, an elf exiled from her tribe. His ultimate goal is to locate his missing cousin, but first, he must aid the elf in order to gain her loyalty. Ashiana is a deadly and willful hunter who is able to invoke the spirits of the forest. She has spoken very little of her past, only that she is originally from one of the wood tribes of the Ketra forest, and that the shaman of her people banished her. She is tracking another elf named Jor, intent on slaying him for blood vengeance. If Innic aids her in this, she will ally with him in turn. Leo seems to mean well, but he enters furious rages when put under great stress. He fled his temple after he nearly incinerated the high priest. He swears that his prayers have led him to Innic. At Ashiana's lead, the party has tracked Jor to an abandoned stronghold, not too far outside of Vitus, atop Drake Hill. Jor spotted the group in its approach and is not at all giving them a friendly welcome. A crossbow bolt smashes against the boulder where the three are huddled. "He is up there!" Ashiana is practically foaming at the mouth. "This is madness!" Innic imagines dashing toward the Holdfast under a hail of arrows and quarrels. But there is no use trying to reason with Ashiana for her willfulness. "There is no turning back now!" Leo grasps the silver holy talisman dangling from his neck. Innic goes into a defensive stance and moves out from behind the boulder with his heavy shield raised. A pair of arrows come flying toward him. "Time for some target practice!" shouts a man from the battlements of a tower. He aims his heavy crossbow between the crenellations. Ashiana shouts and pokes out from behind the boulder with an arrow aimed at Jor, up on the battlements of the tallest tower. "Damn!" she curses, and goes running toward the stronghold. The second human man fires his crossbow from the wall. Leo hears his allies struggle. His heart begins to race, and he holds his holy symbol up to the sun. "Divine Father, Lord above, send your spirits unto me!" An intense heat surges through the priest's hand, and he pops out from behind the boulder to loose three mighty rays of fire. "Ah!" screams the man atop the tower. "What was that?" "You should have stayed in the forest!" Jor shouts down to Ashiana as he knocks an arrow. Ashiana nimbly avoids the missiles. The man with the red headband reloads his crossbow and shoots at the elf woman running toward the stronghold. His bolt goes whizzing just past her ear. He then drops to the ground, not wanting to get scorched again. Innic sprints for cover behind a smaller boulder. The older man in worn leathers reloads his heavy crossbow. He takes aim at Ashiana. The thug's crossbow misfires. He curses and starts fiddling with the winch. Ashiana pushes ahead on spry elven feet. She reaches the wall of the stronghold. Oh! Leo is entranced by some mystical spirit. He emerges momentarily from behind the boulder, emitting rays of blazing heat. Jor shouts in the tongue of the forest.
"What sort of fiends have you allied with this time, Ashiana?"
He then looses a volley at the warrior behind the rocks. The thug in red goes back to his feet, reloads his crossbow, and shoots at Innik. He then drops down again. Innik continues his press for the stronghold. Bewildered and slightly singed, the second ruffian prepares his weapon to fire once more. He leans out over the wall as best he can to get a shot at the elf woman. The bolt stakes itself into the ground near Ashiana's feet. She springs back around the corner where she reaches out to the primal spirits of the wilds. Touching her legs, she bestows them with shamanic strength. The cleric in his ardent trance calls out once again to the Elder God, the Lord of Light and Justice. A shimmering spear appears in his hand, which he hurls at the foe on the wall. Ah! The man cries in pain as the divine bolt lances him. He is left glimmering as though surrounded by a swarm of fireflies.
"Damn that sorcerer to the hell!"
mutters Jor. He knocks an arrow and holds for Leo to reappear.
"But take down the fiend behind the rocks!"
he commands his ally. Innik rushes to the front of the stronghold, where he finds the main gate ripped completely away and a large pit dug out of the yard. Ladders are fixed at either side of the pit, and he climbs halfway down. The second thug is getting worn down and is bewildered from being blindsided by the supernatural assault. He reloads his crossbow, drops down onto his stomach, and tries to get hold of himself. Ashiana slings her longbow over her shoulder. She backs up a few strides, then springs forward and leaps up with the grace of a tree lynx. She grasps the lip of the 18-foot-high wall and pulls. The ranger pulls herself up onto the wall, which is some 3 feet thick. She sees that the walkway has crumbled apart near where she stands. She takes her longbow back in hand and fires at the man lying prostrate. Ashiana's arrow buries itself into the man's spine. He goes completely limp. Leo pokes out from the boulder to launch another lance of light. He finds 3 projectiles speeding straight toward him. Unfazed in his divine fury, the cleric hurls a shimmering spear toward the human on the tower. No! No! Ah! The shining spear skewers the thug, and he falls onto his back, writhing in agony. Jor spews a string of elven curses in his native tongue. He decries the priest as a servant of fiends, a sorcerer, a warlock, a corrupted vessel. He has no shot against the human, however. Jor is frantic. He darts over to the other side of the tower top and fires a volley at Ashiana. Ashiana shrieks, then grits her teeth. Jor drops down onto his haunches with his back against the tower wall in order to cover himself fully from missiles. Upon reaching the bottom of the pit, Innik is confronted by 2 vipers slithering out of their den. They are each longer than a man is tall. The serpents hiss and threaten to strike. The warrior takes a deep breath and shouts, "For Krusos!" He draws his warhammer and swats at the nearest viper. Driven by his surge of vigor, Innik attacks again. The heavy head of the warhammer crushes the viper, though a second serpent has slunk within striking distance. Its fangs snap only the air. Ashiana leaps easily from the wall, past the cracked and broken section, onto the walkway. Her breath is coming difficult now, but her determination propels her on. She comes to the base of the stairs leading up to the lower tower top and nocks an arrow. Leo can see very little, only Ashiana's head beyond the battlements. He calls another glimmering spear into his hand and holds the mystical weapon at the ready for when Jor shows his face. Jor crawls across the tower top to the trapdoor. He opens the hatch door and climbs down the ladder into the third floor of the tower's interior. Innick stares down the hissing serpent and swings his warhammer. The snake dodges the weapon and strikes back. Ashiana hustles up the stairs toward the higher tower. She pulls open the heavy reinforced door. Across the small room, she spots Jor, who is just starting down a flight of stairs. Ashiana utters a few shamanic syllables and invokes primal spirits of brambles, vines, and thorns. The arrow splinters upon the wall near Jor's head. Leo sprints across the ground, mystical spear in hand. Jor takes his longbow back into hand and fires at Ashiana. Two arrows speed toward Ashiana sighing brook. One slices her cheek open, the other lodges into her shoulder. She hits the floor, unconscious and bleeding. Jor continues down the stairs to the second floor of the tower. Innick brings his warhammer down upon the viper, crushing the beast's skull. He holsters his weapon and climbs the ladder out of the pit. Leo continues on, heading for the front gate of the stronghold. Jor rounds the second floor of the tower, hurries down the next flight of stairs to the ground floor. He throws open the door and spots Innick.
Halt! Don't come any closer,
He threatens the warrior. I don't know what you did to get on Ashiana's bad side, but that's a pity for you.
She's done far worse than I ever have. But what would you know?
Innick shows no sign of halting, so Jor finishes by stepping back inside and shutting the door. The human charges up to the door, takes hold of the iron handle, and pulls. The elf inside does the same. The door rattles back and forth, but Innick cannot get it open.
Leo, where are you?
Forth I come! With quick reflexes, Jor lets go the handle, shifts backwards, and draws an arrow. The door flies open with Innick just on the other side. The elf looses twin shafts at the warrior. The arrows bounce off Innick's shield of hardwood, iron, and bronze. Jor takes another step back, drawing his short sword.
I gave you a chance, human.
The warrior lunges forward, warhammer in hand once again. Leo climbs into the pit, runs past the bodies of two big serpents, then climbs out the other side. He He hears the sound of a struggle taking place inside the tower. The elf's short sword stabs only shield and mail.
Oh! I yield! I yield!
The elf, bruised and panicked, throws his blade and bow to the floor. Leo bursts into the doorway, zealous rage crackling in his eyes.
Behold, doom come down from the mountaintop!
A blazing javelin of light pierces into the elf's body. He gasps, overwhelmed, and falls to the floor.